And I guess the infatuation with your story is, how did it actually start? Because it's so original. There's never been one before you or since
No.
you. How did the Billy Birmingham 12th man story start?
Well, in '84 I did the first record, and the year prior to that, '83, I'd written a thing called Australiana for Ostentatious, and it did very well. And I was just blown away that something I'd written had been so well received. So the next year I decided, somewhat reluctantly, to sort of step up to the microphone myself. And well, the Packer Revolution had drawn me and hundreds of thousands of others back to the game of cricket. And it also drew me to four of the most magnificent voices that anyone who has a penchant, as Ray Warren says, for taking the piss. You couldn't have wished for four better voices. I mean, Benno with that wonderfully squashed voice, the bottom lip of the mate of its own. And, Bill Laurie, I got him, yes, and everything was Victorian. He loved anything to do with Victoria. And a lovely, excitable voice. And a lovely way of saying the letter L, or he'll lock you down the leg side. And Tony Greig, of course, hard and fast. I mean, the South African accents always sounded to me like an accent they made up as they went along. And everything was hard and fast, and I just made sure I had lots of those in there. And then Chappelli was a lot more, he was dry as an old Jats biscuit when he was... So you just had these four voices that made up the commentary team for the Packer Revolution, and I used to sit around my lounge room, Crash, imitating their voices, and so did all my mates.
And, of course, you mentioned Australiana by Ostentatious, which is a play on words. Why didn't you record it yourself? Because you could have easily have done so. It is still Australia's #1 selling single of all time.
But I don't know whether someone may have usurped that since, but at the time it knocked off my old mate Slim Dusty's Pub With No Beer as the highest grossing Australian single of all time. And I had no interest, Crash, in being... in front of the camera or, the main man on the microphone. I just sort of, ran across Ostentatious who wanted to do something in comedy, and I used to go around saying, instead of is the Pope a Catholic and there's a bear shit in the woods, I used to say, how much can a koala bear and does a wombat? It was just little bits of stuff that I did, and one day I sat down and wrote down all of the ones that I could think of, Veggie might come to, all sorts of place names and Aussie iconography and whatever, and we ended up recording it. And, knocked off poor old Slim's Pub With No Beer.
People can't believe that in these days of so much sophisticated recording stuff, but yours was absolutely homegrown.
Absolutely.
I mean, paint the picture for people at home where these famous records came from.
Well, you're a lounge room, and I would get 2 or 3 mattresses, literally, and I would put them in the corner of a room to sort of make a recording booth. And then I would put a doona over the top to give it some kind of deadening sound. And, yeah, that was it. So, I mean, that's where I did all my voices. And then, when it came to doing sound effects and stuff, in the movie business they call that Foley work. Foley is the expression they use to describe putting in the sound effects. And it was one of my all-time favourite parts of doing my records. Just putting all of the accoutrement and the sound effects and whatever to make it come to life.
I would have loved to see your reaction to the first record, which roared to #1. Suddenly, Billy Birmingham was being spoken about on every bar in Australia. Yet your photos of you were quite elusive. You were photographed from behind.
Yeah, no, I didn't even have my name on the first record. The name Billy Birmingham didn't appear anywhere. I don't know whether... I got some legal advice, actually, on the first record. I went to someone and played them the record, and I wanted to make sure that the boys or Channel 9 couldn't sue my ass for what I'd done, And then I was naively thinking that if my name wasn't on it, they couldn't find me.
That's one of your best, Billy. That is one of your best.
Serious, I'm serious. So I played it to this lawyer, and he said, look, in Australia, if someone doesn't like what you've said about them, they can sue you. If they think that their reputation's been besmirched in any way, they can sue you. That's my legal opinion. My non-legal opinion is that these guys, as great Australian sportsmen, it's extremely important for them to be seen as being good sports, and the chances of them trying to do anything to stop you or whatever are very slim, and I said that's good enough for me. David Hill, the former head of Channel 9 Sport, got me a beauty when I did the first record. he left a message on my answer machine saying, Mr. Birmingham, my name's Hill. I'm calling from Channel 9. OK, there's two ways we can handle this. Either you get down here with a truckload of money or we just end up in court. And I just, my wife said the blood drained from my head. And he said, nah, just kidding, mate, love it, love it. Now, listen, we want you on the show next week and whatever, so... But he got me. I mean, I really thought I was going to... I thought I was going to pass out, Crash.